Hello there folks, welcome to the Tech Battle, and this right here is a camera comparison between S21 Ultra and Pixel 5. Please note this video is only going to compare the pictures here from the main camera, so no video comparisons. As you might already be aware, the S21 Ultra's main camera is this 108 megapixel camera with OIS with their own sensor, that is Samsung's own sensor, and Pixel 5's main camera is this 12.2 megapixel sensor, which is a generation old at least at this time. Few things I would like to point out before we dive in. First, the pictures included in this comparison involve just focusing on the subject and then just clicking the button, so pretty much point and shoot. I have not done anything fancy here, like taken them through any filters, etc. What you see is what came out of the phone. I might zoom into the pictures here and there, but those should be clearly marked. And more importantly, unlike some other mobile companies in the past, I'm not trying to pass on pictures taken on a DSLR or equivalent as pictures from these mobile phones. Some companies have done that in the past, you see. And lastly, my aim here is to take some shots which are challenging for the phone's camera and not to showcase my photography skills. Now, some might argue these are not necessarily mutually exclusive, but you know, evidently it is in my case. You be the judge. All of this takes a lot of time to do, so if you can please show me some love by subscribing to this channel, that will be greatly appreciated. Alrighty then, here we go. Let's begin with some night shots, as this is where I saw most of the differences. The first one here is a handheld shot at night. To the naked eye, it's quite a dark and complex scene with very bright lights in the background. The tree nearest to the right here is just black, plus we have also the stars in the sky to contend with as well. The shot was taken around midnight. What were you doing up so late, you ask? Well, to that I say you're not my mom, alright? And if you're indeed my mom watching this video, then Anywho, back to the pictures. The picture from S21 is a lot warmer, whereas the Pixel 5 is much cooler. You can see that in the sky and the color of the tree here. Samsung S21 is actually resolving much more details than Pixel and getting much more light in. You can see that here in the tree branches and also the brightness and the number of the stars in the sky. I'll be happy with either, to be honest. Normally I would have preferred Pixel, as the shot from the Pixel is much more true to how it looked to me in person, if not for this tree here, which the Pixel 5 has sprinkled with too much green fairy dust for my liking. It's just a matter of preference. I will probably call this a tie, given that nobody has got it entirely right. The next one here is the same shot taken from a tripod, so that in both phone unlocks longer exposures. In case of Pixel 5 it was almost a minute, I think, and in Samsung it was around 15 seconds. That itself should give you an idea of how much better S21's sensor is compared to Pixel. The image processing though is a different ballgame. You can see how mature Pixel 5's image processing algorithm is. Pixel's shot is also softer compared to Samsung S21 here, and the power of S21's new sensor is clear to see with its much better dynamic range even in these challenging areas of the shot, except for the stars in the sky. You can see here Pixel has got it pretty much nailed down. Pixel 5's much more mature image processing again shows its strength, resulting in a much better composed and balanced shot. Again, for this, the shot from the Pixel is much more closer to the actual scene. If I have to choose, I'll go with Pixel 5 here, but without that reference, both the shots look equally good. Next one here is a picture of my desktop fan, and in the first instance both of them look equally good, but if you look closer you can see Pixel's shot has much better focus and the fan's case is much sharper compared to S21, which is where I was focusing. I was focusing right in the middle, in the dark area in the center. S21's focus is quite good, but not as good as Pixel yet, though S21 manages to capture much more detail with much better dynamic range. If you look at the various shades of blue in the shot, that should be pretty clear to see. Also, Pixel has overblown the highlights here. They look almost white or Alice blue or something similar. Knowing how it looked in person, to me, I will prefer Samsung here. It's much more cleaner and true to what I saw. The next two are quite interesting. My aim here was squarely to test the dynamic range in challenging conditions and also the ability to focus on a subject under low light. Focus was on the top LED light here out of the three, so plant in the front should be out of focus, which is the case in both the shots. S21 is capturing again more light due to its newer sensor, whereas the Pixel is much darker. If you look here, Pixel looks a bit washed out almost. S21 also struggles with focus again. It's not as sharp as Pixel, you can see that by looking at the wall. Remember, it's not focus hunting like before in S20, but generally the quality of focus is not as good as Pixel. Also, Pixel 5's shot again here is much closer to the reality here, including the color of the LED lights, which S21 has actually changed quite a bit. I think this one goes to Pixel in my view. The next one is the same shot, but the focus is at the base of the plant. If you ignore the color accuracy of the LED lights in the background, S21 is overall much better here. The shot from S21 pulls in much more details with better dynamic range and completely trumps Pixel in this case. You can only do so much with superior image processing software. S21 has done a much better job here, including blurring out the background. For this one, I will definitely go with S21. Right, let's see some outdoor shots in cloudy conditions. In this, my focus was on the middle of the trunk of this tree in the corner here. Overall, I don't have any major complaints with either of them, as they both do a very good job of retaining details here. Image from the S21 is much more colorful. If you look at the green of the tree leaves and the moss on the trunk of the tree, it's a lighter shade of green, a spring green almost. In comparison, it's not that prominent on Pixel, it's much more subdued form of green. If you don't know how the scene looked originally, S21 shot is much better. It definitely looks more vibrant, but Pixel shot again is much more closer to reality, how it looked to my naked eyes. I will call it a tie here. By the way, let me know your thoughts. What do you prefer? A picture which is realistic, therefore closer to what you see, or the ones which are slightly boosted and are therefore more pleasing to your eyes? Right, these next few are some outdoor close-ups in sunny conditions and was the reason why it took so long for me. I will cover them in bulk here as we flip through them, as most of the observations are common for all three of them. Again, both S21 and Pixel do a very good job here, but if I'm nitpicking, which is what I am essentially doing throughout this video here, I will say Pixel has a more accurate focus, and by that what I mean is, more often than not, Pixel will correctly focus on the subject you want to, that is based on where you press on the screen. S21 is a bit less so. Again, it's not annoying or a huge irritant. You won't even realize it if you're not looking for it, unless you are particularly unlucky, but just enough to notice for someone using two different phones and the number of tries it takes to focus on an intended subject on S21 versus a Pixel, let's say. Not a biggie, but worth knowing. Even if the shots look straightforward, they were not really, as there was a slight breeze blowing, so none of the subjects were still. Both the phones did a good job here of keeping the subject in focus, even if they were moving all the time. Generally, what you will notice is Pixel's outdoor shots are warmer compared to S21, which are comparatively cooler. Which one you like is a matter of your preference. S21 consistently pulls in slightly more light than Pixel, is sharper, has less noise, and thus naturally has much better dynamic range. I think I've repeated it quite enough now. And Pixel 5's focusing is in general much more on point, that is cleaner. Not by a huge margin, but noticeable when compared side by side. More or less, no one shot is significantly better than others in balance. Which ones you prefer depends on your preferences. A bit obvious, I know, but it's actually true in this case. But if you ignore the very minor focusing problems on S21, which is more of a camera software issue in my view, just on the quality of the pictures alone, S21 takes it here. Not by much, but it is always marginally and sometimes noticeably better than Pixel in some shots at least. The next ones are some indoor snaps under lights. The first scene here will be familiar to you if you watched my previous camera comparison video. The only difference from before is the bulb, as I had to change the light bulb, so it's a daylight bulb now as opposed to the warm light bulb before. And my focus for this one is on the crystal here, and the results are same as before. Pixel, for some reason, manages to completely change the tone of the scene here, veering towards cooler tones, whereas the S21 is much better and retains the correct color tones. The keen-eyed among you probably have already noticed that the focus is still much better in Pixel than S21, so that seems to be an ongoing theme here. Nevertheless, I will still pick S21 here purely because Pixel gets the color temperature entirely wrong here again. This next one is of this wall clock. I use this a lot as it has got lots of detail in it, and I'm glad to see S21 actually does a much better job here than S20 and even Pixel in many areas. To be clear, I'm not happy because it's Samsung, rather it's because I see some noticeable and tangible improvements in the camera system from them. I don't have any brand loyalty to any company, but I would like everyone to improve, which then creates more competition, ultimately leading to better products for you and for me as consumers. Ignoring the color temperature bias, which for some reason switches for indoor shots, that is S21's pictures indoor tend to be much more warmer compared to Pixels, which are much more cooler, which is opposite of how they treat the outdoor shots. Figure that one out. S21's images are tad more brighter, retains more detail and has less noise, and surprisingly, if you look at the yellow bird here on the corner, has much better focus on it as well. So S21 wins this one hands down for me. The next one here is this white color test I like to do. Kept it for the last as I realize not everyone will be interested except for weird nerds like me. So just very quickly on this, the focus is on the yellow button with the smaller sun icon here. The lights are 100% cool and the background is white, obviously. Compared to S20, S21's treatment of white is much closer to the actual scene and is actually on par with Pixel, if not better. S21's focus area is still an issue for me, especially if you look at the letters on the green buttons here, but S21 also pulls in more light and has less noise compared to Pixel. So for me, S21 takes this one, even if it's by a very thin margin. So that's all I had for this camera comparison. I had to whittle down the shots from a total of approximately 100 I took originally. I personally don't have a preference for either now. I thought I liked Pixel's image processing better, but S21 has shaken that up a bit. There's no right or wrong here because none of these are perfect, so ultimately it depends on your preference. Either of them will serve you very well. Just imagine if you have a combination of Pixel's image processing algorithm and S21's hardware. That will be sweet, isn't it? Damn it, not again. Just stepped on a tube of toothpaste. Let me go clean it up. While I do that, let me end the video right here. Hope you liked the video. Please like and subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Cheers.